What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing a detailed breakdown of the Kifaru Bino Harness, and we're going to stack it up against the brand new No-Mag version that was just recently released by Marsupial Gear a couple weeks ago. Now, in this video, I just basically want to talk about the pros and cons of each of these. I feel like if you guys are watching this video, you guys probably know enough about each of these bino harnesses. We'll kind of talk about some of the similarities and differences, but I mainly want to focus on the pros and cons just so you guys can make a better purchasing decision if you're debating between these two. Now, as far as similarities go, both of these are no magnets, which is a huge selling point for me because the magnets will affect your GPS system. I've done a video before on this in the past. You guys can go and check that out. Another huge selling point and a similarity that both of these bino harnesses share is that they're both a forward flip design, which for me, being that the majority of my hunting is out of a saddle or a tree stand, is one of the biggest selling features I look for because it just allows easy access to your binos. Now, another big selling point is that both of these bino harnesses are fully enclosed, which is going to prevent debris from getting in and getting on your optics. Now, obviously, both of these bino harnesses do have a bunch of different accessories that you can purchase. I got them both set up with the rangefinder pouch and the accessory pouch offered by both companies. We'll talk about the connection points and how these differ a little bit throughout the video, but like I said, there are a bunch of different accessories that are available. Now, both of these bino harnesses also offer front pockets. Now, obviously, the layout is a little different. Marsupial offers their front zipper pocket, which is standard on all of their harnesses that they offer, whereas the Kifaru one, theirs is actually located on the inside, and then they also have additional pockets located on the lid. Now, I really like the design of the Kifaru one just because in that front pocket is where I run my handheld release, and having it located on the inside of the bino harness and having it closed keeps that release secure. Whereas if I compare that to the Marsupial one, when I used to run my handheld release in here, my thumb button would poke out and sometimes it would make contact with the carabiner on my saddle, also getting a little metal on metal contact noise, which I always try to prevent when I'm setting up and tearing down while I'm out in the whitetail woods. So like I said, both offer pockets, little different layout. Now, as far as the material goes, the Kifaru Bino Harness is made with their Cordura fabric, which I'm a huge fan of for its durability. Whereas the Marsupial one, they're almost utilizing or using like a stretch fabric. Now, I don't know durability wise how this will hold up. I believe this is the same fabric that they use on their fully enclosed magnetic harness, which has been out for a long time. So I do believe that it's probably going to hold up and you won't have any issues with it. Now, another thing, both of these companies do offer a lifetime warranty of manufacturer defects, which is always critical, especially if you're really hard on your gear like I am. One thing that people have been asking me is if you take a look at the new Marsupial design, people have been asking me whether or not I feel like that'll stretch or give over time. It's hard to say, but it is backed by their lifetime warranty. So if you do have an issue with that, it would fall under a manufacturer defect. And I do believe that Marsupial Gear would honor that and either send you a replacement or somehow fix your existing bino harness. Now, obviously, both of these bino harnesses do have side pockets. The one on the Marsupial Gear is a little bit bigger. There is a little bit of structure to the side of the harness, so if you're running something in the side pockets, it's not going to actually protrude into the bino bucket, whereas the Kifaru one, being that they don't have that structure on the side, sometimes depending on what you're running in the pocket, it will protrude into the bino bucket. I have a milkweed holder, which was actually a buddy made this for me. It's just out of an old film roll case, but being that this is round, when I shove this in here, it does, like I said, it does protrude into the bino bucket. And you can see, like if I go to just drop my binos back in here, it won't go in just straight down. I almost got to go in on an angle and then they'll slide in perfectly. Not a big deal, but it is something that I wanted to point out. Now, as far as the connection points for your accessories, the Kifaru Bino Harness, they utilize these these side tabs that have Velcro on it. Now, when I first saw that, I'm not a big fan of Velcro out in the woods. I think it creates too much noise. But for this setup in particular, it's done a really good job. It does a great job at securing the accessory pocket and the rangefinder pouch in place. They don't slide, they don't make any noise, so it's really not an issue. But I think they did a great job on that. Whereas, like, if I compare that over to the Marsupial one, the Marsupial Bino Harness, they actually have MOLLE connection points where the buckles are located, and that's where you're connecting your accessory pouch. Now, I've talked about this before on some of my other videos. The only thing I don't like about that is that it does not allow those accessory pouches to lay flat across your chest. It almost kind of buckles on the side of each of them, where, like I said, the Kifaru one, they do a much better job. It lays flat across your chest and you don't have any of that buckling on the side, and it also still allows for very easy access to your side pockets. Now, when talking about the inside material used on both of these bino harnesses, obviously the Marsupial one, they are known for just using this really awesome fleece lining, which does a great job. You don't get any squeaking when you're taking your binos in and out of the harness like I've experienced on some of the other harnesses that I've tested out, like the FHF. I've talked about that before in the past, but I'm a big fan of this inside material. Awesome job from Marsupial, whereas the Kifaru one, they're basically using like a mesh lining. Now, again, I don't have any issues with your binos squeaking as you're getting them in and out, but the one thing I do want to point out is I've been running this harness now, like I said, since the summer, and you can see a little bit of wear on that mesh material. It's not ripped, it's not frayed, it's not an issue at all, but it is something that I did want to point out, is because that is, like I said, it is a difference between the two of them. Now, as far as how you're opening and closing these bino harnesses, the Kifaru one, it is a one-handed operation to get it in the closed position, but if you want to go fully open, what I consider the full tuck mode, it does take both hands. And what I've experienced over the hunting season, definitely when hunting out of a saddle, is if you don't spend an extra second to make sure that it properly tucks, it will pop out on you and it'll basically just dangle in front of you. Now, it's not a huge deal. It doesn't interfere with your bowstring. It doesn't get in the way. But like I said, you do kind of have to use both hands, whereas the Marsupial, like I said, they did a fantastic job on this lid, and they did a fantastic job with truly making this a one-handed operation to get it open and closed. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is the rangefinder pouch on both of these. So again, on the Kifaru one, you can close it one-handed, but to get the rangefinder pouch in the fully open position, it does require two hands. And then also what I've noticed is you almost have to, before you go, again, the full tuck mode, you have to basically turn the lid inside out to get it to basically stay in that open position. It does require two hands, and then when you go to close it, you almost got to push that material back out, and then from there you can do a one-handed operation to get it closed. Whereas the Marsupial one, very similar design to the bino harness itself, just a one-handed operation. That lid folds forward and keeps that rangefinder pouch open, and then, you know, does a great job at just one-hand operation to get it closed, and then it stays closed in that position, because they added basically this rod in the back that gives it a little bit of rigidity and almost allows it to lock. So Marsupial definitely did an outstanding job on that design. Now, talking about the pros and cons of both of these bino harnesses, like I said, I've been running the Kifaru one all season long. I absolutely love this harness, and I love the fact that it maintains a very slim profile. It meets everything that I'm looking for in a bino harness. But the one thing that I did do, and a lot of people have noticed this in some of my Instagram posts, is I did change out the straps and I added Marsupial straps to it. I do like the padded straps. I do like the stitching that Marsupial does on their straps, because it does a lot better job at pulling those straps away from your neck. Whereas if I compare that to the ones that were provided with the bino harness, they basically, they don't really pull away, and there are times where it will kind of creep over, especially if you're wearing just a t-shirt as you're shooting in the summer. It'll creep over and it'll start to kind of rub on your neck a little bit, which does get a little bit annoying. And then also, for me, personal preference, but I do prefer the padded straps versus the no padded. So I just basically took these off my old Marsupial bino harnesses, added it to the Kifaru one, and like I said, this thing's been perfect ever since. Now, with the marsupial one, talking about pros and cons, the biggest con in my opinion, which will really ultimately prevent me from keeping and running this bino harness going forward, is the fact that the overall size is just way too bulky for me. Now, if you're someone who has ran their magnetic fully enclosed bino harness and you're wanting to switch over to the No-Mag, this may not be an issue for you because you're already used to running a bulkier bino harness. But like I said, this is an extremely bulky bino harness. I personally don't like having all that bulk on my chest. I don't like it protruding too far out. And for me, that's really the deal killer on this bino harness. Now, another thing that I do want to point out is, so Marsupial mentioned in their release video that in order to get this designed properly and get this lid to function properly, they had to increase the overall size of the bino bucket, and then they also had to increase the overall size of their rangefinder pouch. Now, if you're running the rangefinder pouch, when you have this on and in the closed position, it does make it a little difficult to access this side pocket, whereas you don't have to worry about that on the Kifaru one. If you have it in the open position, it does kind of expose that pocket a little bit better, but like I said, in the closed position, it does make it a little bit more difficult. You almost got to kind of pull the rangefinder pouch away from the harness, and then you can have easy access to that side pocket. Now, what I would personally like to see them do, and I mentioned this before in my first impressions video, is just lengthen this connection point and allow that to kind of pull away from the harness a little bit, and then that it'll allow that to lay flat, and then it'll allow you to access that side pocket a little bit easier. But other than that, like I said, both outstanding bino harnesses. Now, one other thing that I want to point out is with the Kifaru Bino Harness, their fit is actually super snug on your binos, and that is something that I actually really like because you don't have to worry about these accidentally falling out, whereas the Marsupial Bino Harness, their bucket is pretty large. The binos I mean, honestly, you'll almost get a little bit of play with your binos while they're in there as you're moving or transitioning through the woods. You'll feel them kind of bouncing around in there a little bit. And then if you were to happen to just bend over while this was open, your binos will just actually fall right out of the harness. So I would recommend that you are using the tethers that are provided for your binos if you're going to run the Marsupial. The Kifaru one, they don't come with tethers, but you definitely do not need them. Your binos fit very snug in here. Snug enough to where they're not going to just fall out, but it's not so snug to where you can't easily pull these in and out very easily while you're out in the woods. So, but that's basically it for this side-by-side comparison. If you guys have any other questions, you can always leave me a comment below. You can always reach out to me directly on Instagram. I'm always happy to help, happy to answer any additional questions that I didn't cover in here. For reference, both of these are a small bino harness through both companies. I run Vortex 10x42 Diamondbacks. I can run at 8x42 in both of these bino harnesses, but that's basically the size that I have here. But like I said, that's it for this video. Any other questions, leave me a comment, send me a message on Instagram. I'm happy to help. If you guys have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Your guys' support greatly helps us out, keeps us doing what we're doing. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you on the next one.